Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship. The big metal room had screens and buttons everywhere. He looked out the main window at space. Stars filled the black sky like tiny diamonds. But today, something else was out there too. A strange ship was coming toward them. It looked nothing like human ships. This one was smooth and silver. It had curves instead of hard edges. Strange lights blinked along its sides in colors Jake had never seen before. "Captain, they're sending U.S. a message," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant. She sat at the communications desk. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "The translation computer is working on it." Jake had been waiting for this day for 3 months. The aliens called themselves Zephyrians. They looked like tall, thin people, but their skin was like crystal. They had more eyes than humans did, and they were very scared of Earth. The Zephyrians had called Earth Class 12 Deathworld. Jake didn't know what that meant at first. But when he asked, the aliens told him that meant Earth was one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. They said only the strongest and most violent creatures could live there. "Message coming through now, Captain," Lisa said. Her voice sounded worried. A new voice filled the bridge. It sounded strange because the computer had to change the alien words into English. "Human ship, this is Ambassador Cathara of the Zephyrian Council. We greet you with respect and fear." Jake picked up the microphone. "Welcome, Ambassador. This is Captain Morrison. We're happy to meet you. Captain Morrison, we must discuss the meeting rules. Our people cannot visit your world surface. It is too dangerous for any civilized being. The predators on your world would kill us in minutes." Jake looked at Lisa. She was trying not to smile. They had expected this. The aliens thought Earth was full of monsters that would eat anything that moved. "We understand your concerns, Ambassador," Jake said. "Would you like to visit our space station first? It's safe there. We can talk and learn about each other." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice came back. "Yes, that would be acceptable. But we must wear protection suits. And we cannot stay long. Your world's energy is too violent for our systems." "Of course, Ambassador. We'll meet you in Docking Bay 3. Jake turned off the microphone and looked at his crew. "Everyone ready?" Lisa nodded. "Dr. Amy Chun is waiting in the docking bay. She has all the files ready." "And Pete?" "Commander. Sullivan is ready too, and he brought Buddy." Jake smiled. Buddy was Pete's dog. The alien visitors had no idea what they were about to learn. The Zephyrian ship came closer. Jake could see it better now. It was beautiful, but looked very fragile, like it was made of glass instead of metal. Human ships were built to be strong and tough. This alien ship looked like it would break if you touched it wrong. "Docking complete," said the computer voice. Jake walked to the docking bay. The rest of his senior officers came with him. They all wore their best uniforms. First contact with aliens was important. Jake wanted to make a good impression. The airlock door opened with a hiss. The first thing Jake saw were the protection. Suits. The aliens wore thick white suits that covered their whole bodies. They had glass helmets that let Jake see their faces. Ambassador Cathara was tall, maybe 7 feet. His skin really did look like crystal. It was clear in some places, and blue in others. He had 4 eyes instead of 2. They were arranged in a diamond pattern on his face. When he moved, his skin made tiny rainbow colors. "Captain Morrison," the alien said. His voice came through speakers in his suit. "Thank you for receiving us. We know this is dangerous for you, too." "Dangerous?" Jake asked. "Yes, being so close to beings from a death world. Your people must be incredibly violent to survive such a place. We respect your strength, but we also fear it." Jake almost laughed. He looked at Lisa again. She was still trying not to smile. "Ambassador, would you like a tour of our station?" If it is safe. They walked through the station's halls. The aliens stayed close together. They jumped at every sound. When they passed the engineering section, the noise from the engines made them grab each other in fear. Those are just our engines, Jake explained. They keep the station running. Such violent sounds, said another alien. This one was shorter and had green crystal skin. On our worlds, machines make soft music. They visited the command center, the science labs, and the living areas. The aliens were amazed by everything. They had never seen technology built to be so strong and heavy. Your people build things to last, Ambassador Kethara said. On our world, we build things to be beautiful. Different worlds, different needs. Jake said. Finally, they reached the observation lounge. This was the part Jake had been waiting for. The room had huge windows that looked out at space. And there, floating below them, was Earth. The aliens stopped walking. They stared at the planet with all their eyes. By the eternal light, whispered Ambassador Kethara, your world is so bright, so full of energy. How do you stand it? Earth looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans and green land masses. White clouds swirled across the surface. To humans, it looked like home. To the aliens, it looked terrifying. It's not so bad once you get used to it, Jake said. That's when Buddy appeared. The golden retriever had been waiting behind one of the chairs. When he saw people, his tail started wagging. He ran up to the window and pressed his nose against the glass. His tongue hung out of his mouth. He looked happy and friendly. The aliens screamed. All 5 of them jumped backward. They grabbed each other and started talking in their own language very fast. The translation computer couldn't keep up. What is that creature? Ambassador Kethara shouted. Is it contained? Are we safe? Jake looked at Buddy. The dog was now sitting by the window, still wagging his tail. He was looking at the aliens with curious brown eyes. That's Buddy, Jake said calmly. He belongs to Commander Sullivan. Belongs? The alien's voice was shaking. You captured one of your apex predators? Well, not exactly captured, Jake said. Commander Pete Sullivan walked into the room. He was a big man with kind eyes and gray hair. When Buddy saw him, the dog's whole body wiggled with happiness. Hey there, boy, Pete said. He knelt down and scratched behind Buddy's ears. The dog's tail wagged even faster. The aliens watched in complete silence. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Ambassador, Jake said, I think there are some things about Earth that might surprise you. Dr. Amy Chun walked into the observation lounge carrying a tablet computer. She was a small woman with long black hair tied back in a ponytail. She wore a white lab coat over her blue uniform. The aliens were still pressed against the far wall. Staring at Buddy, the dog was now lying on his back, letting Pete rub his belly. His legs kicked in the air with happiness. Don't be afraid, Amy said in a calm voice. This is Buddy. He's what we call a dog. Dog? Ambassador Kethara's voice shook. That creature is enormous. Look at those teeth, those claws. Amy knelt. Down next to Buddy, the dog rolled over and licked her hand. His tail wagged so hard his whole body moved. Buddy is descended from wolves, Amy explained. Wolves were apex predators on Earth thousands of years ago. They hunted in packs. They could kill animals much larger than themselves. The shorter alien, who had introduced himself as Science Officer Veltar, made a noise like a gasp. Descended from apex predators? How did your species survive? Amy smiled and scratched under Buddy's chin. The dog closed his eyes and made a happy sound. We didn't just survive them, Amy said. We made them our friends. She stood up and activated her tablet. A holographic image appeared in the air above it. It showed a wolf howling at the moon. This is what Buddy's ancestors looked like 15,000 years ago, Amy said. Gray. Wolves, they were hunters. They lived in packs and followed herds of animals across the land. The image changed to show early humans sitting around a fire. Wolves watched them from the darkness. Our ancestors were hunters too, Amy continued. At first, wolves and humans competed for the same food. Sometimes they fought. Sometimes wolves killed humans. Sometimes humans killed wolves. Veltar moved a little closer, but he was still ready to run away. Then how did this happen? He pointed at Buddy, who was now chasing his own tail. Someone somewhere had a different idea. Amy sighed. The hologram changed again. Now it showed a human sharing meat with a wolf. The wolf was smaller than the others, younger. Maybe it was a human who found a lost wolf pup. Maybe it was a wolf who was too curious about humans. We don't know exactly how it started. But slowly, over thousands of years, some wolves began to live with humans. The images showed the changes over time. Wolves becoming smaller, friendlier. Their ears changing shape. Their tails starting to curl. Their faces becoming more like Buddy's. The wolves that lived with humans had advantages, Amy explained. Humans shared food with them. They helped heal them when they were hurt. They protected them from other predators. Pete sat down on the floor. Buddy immediately crawled into his lap, even though the dog was almost as big as Pete. And the humans got advantages too, Pete said. Dogs could smell things we couldn't smell. They could hear things we couldn't hear. They warned us when dangerous animals were coming. They helped us hunt. Amy touched her tablet again. New images appeared. Dogs herding sheep. Dogs pulling sleds across snow. Dogs guiding blind people down streets. But it's more than just helping, Amy said. Watch this. She played a video. It showed a little human girl, maybe 5 years old. She was crying because she had fallen down and hurt her knee. A large dog came running over. The dog licked the girl's tears and then lay down next to her, letting her hug him until she stopped crying. The aliens watched in complete silence. Dogs don't just work for us, Amy explained. They love us, and we love them. Ambassador Cathara. 4 eyes were all focused on the video. Love? You have emotional bonds with predators? Former predators, Amy corrected. And yes. Pete, tell them about your family. Pete smiled and hugged Buddy tighter. I've had dogs my whole life. When I was a kid, my dog was named Rex. He was a German shepherd. One night, our house caught fire. Rex woke up the whole family by barking. He saved all our lives. But surely this is rare, Veltar said. One unusual creature. Amy laughed. There are over 900 million dogs on Earth. Almost every human family that can afford one has a dog. Some families have several. She showed them more videos. Dogs playing with children. Dogs sleeping in beds with humans. Dogs wearing little jackets in cold weather. Dogs getting baths and complaining about it. They live in our homes? Another alien asked. Of course, Pete said. Buddy sleeps on my bed. He has his own food bowls, his own toys, his own blanket. You said there are 900 million of these creatures, Ambassador Cathara said slowly. Are they all like this one? Amy nodded. Well, they're all different, just like humans are different. Some are big, some are small. Some have long hair, some have short hair. Some are good at different jobs. She showed them pictures of different dog breeds. Tiny chihuahuas sitting in purses. Massive Great Danes standing next to children. Border collies herding sheep. Bloodhounds tracking. Scents. But they all share one thing, Amy said. They're all loyal to their human families. What about the original predators? Veltar asked. The wild wolves? They still exist, Amy said. There are wild wolves in many parts of Earth, but they avoid humans now. They're actually afraid of us. She showed them a video of wild wolves running away from humans. The wild wolves and the domestic dogs can still breed together, Amy explained. They're the same species, just different varieties. It's like... She paused, trying to think of a comparison the aliens would understand. It's like if you took some of your people and had them live in a different environment for thousands of years, Pete said. They might look a little different and act little different, but they'd still be your people. Ambassador Cathara was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Your species took your apex predators and turned them into family members. That's right, Amy said. But dogs are not the only ones, are they? Veltar asked. He was looking at Amy's tablet, which still showed images of different animals. Amy grinned. Oh no, dogs are just the beginning. Come on, let me show you the livestock decks. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Livestock? Ambassador Cathara asked. The animals we use for food and work, Amy explained. Don't worry, they're just as friendly as Buddy. More predators? Veltar's voice was getting higher. Some of them, Pete said cheerfully. But wait until you see the herbivores. Some of those are even more impressive. As they walked toward the livestock decks, Buddy trotted alongside them. Every few steps, he would look up at the aliens with his tongue hanging out. He seemed to think they were playing some kind of game. Aliens kept as much distance as possible between themselves and the dog. But Amy noticed that Veltar kept looking at Buddy with curiosity instead of just fear. He really won't hurt us. Veltar asked quietly. The only way Buddy would hurt you is if he thought you were trying to hurt Pete or someone else he loves, Amy said. And even then, he'd probably just bark at you first to warn you off. Warn us? Dogs don't like to fight, Pete explained. They'd rather scare threats away than actually hurt them. Fighting is dangerous, even for predators. They reached the livestock decks. Amy stopped at the entrance and turned to face the aliens. Before we go in, I want you to understand something, she said. Everything you're about to see used to be wild, used to be dangerous. Some of them could still be dangerous if they wanted to be, but they don't want to be. She opened the door. Welcome to 10,000 years of human-animal partnerships. The livestock deck smelled like hay and animals. It was a good, clean smell that reminded Pete of his childhood on his grandfather's farm. But to the aliens, it was completely foreign. Lieutenant Commander Brian Hayes was waiting for them. He was a tall man with strong hands and a kind face. He had grown up on a ranch before joining the space service. Welcome to our agricultural section, Brian said. We keep animals here for food, materials, and companionship. The first pen they came to held cattle. 5 large black and white cows stood eating hay. They were huge animals, each one weighing over 1,000 pounds. Their horns curved out from their heads like weapons. The aliens stopped walking and stared. Those are enormous, whispered Ambassador Cathara. They could crush a person easily. These are Holstein cows, Brian explained. They're dairy cows. We milk them twice a day. Milk them? Veltar asked. We collect their milk to drink and make cheese, Brian said. He opened the gate to the pen and walked inside. The aliens gasped and pressed themselves against the far wall. Brian, be careful, Amy called, but she was smiling. Brian walked up to the nearest cow. She was a large female with gentle brown eyes. When she saw Brian, she made a soft mooing sound and lowered her head toward him. This is Bessie, Brian said, scratching between the cow's ears. She's been giving milk for 3 years now. She produces about 6 gallons of milk every day. Bessie closed her eyes and leaned into Brian's scratching. Her tail swished back and forth contentedly. She enjoys being touched? Ambassador Kethara asked in amazement. Cows are social animals. Brian explained. They like companionship. In the wild, they live in herds and groom each other. But surely these are not predators, Veltar said. They eat plants. You're right, Brian said. But their ancestors were just as dangerous as any predator. Wild aurochs stood 6 feet tall. At the shoulder, they had massive horns and bad tempers. They killed many humans. He showed them pictures on his tablet. Wild aurochs looked like cows, but bigger and more muscular. Their horns were longer and sharper. Aurochs were one of the most dangerous animals in Europe, Brian continued. They were aggressive and territorial. They would charge anything that came near their calves. Then how did you domesticate them? Veltar was moving closer to the pen, but he was still ready to run. Very carefully, over thousands of years, Brian said, humans would capture young aurochs' calves. The gentle ones that could live with humans were allowed to have babies. The aggressive ones were not. Slowly, over many generations, we created cattle that were calm and friendly. He patted Bessie's side. The cow was so large that Brian's hand looked tiny against her. But the amazing thing is what we gave them in return, Brian said. Wild aurochs are extinct now. They died out hundreds of years ago. But there are over 1 billion cattle in the galaxy because humans take care of them. Sarah Kim, the agricultural coordinator, joined them at the next pen. She was a short woman with strong arms and a bright smile. These are my pride and joy, she said, gesturing to a pen full of horses. The horses were beautiful. They had sleek coats in different colors, brown, black, white, and spotted. They were tall and muscular, with long legs built for running. Horses, Ambassador Kithara said. I have read about these in your databases. They are transportation animals. They're much more than that, Sarah said. She climbed over the fence into the pen. A large brown horse immediately walked over to her. He was enormous, probably weighing 1,500 pounds. His hooves were bigger than dinner plates. This is Thunder, Sarah said. The horse lowered his head and nuzzled her shoulder. He's a Clydesdale. His ancestors were war horses. War horses? Veltar asked. Horses were bred for battle, Sarah explained. They carried knights in armor into combat. They had to be strong enough to carry a man in heavy armor and brave enough to charge into a fight. Thunder was gentle despite his size. He let Sarah scratch his neck and check his hooves. When she made a clicking sound with her tongue, he followed her around the pen. But horses weren't always domestic, Sarah continued. Wild horses lived in herds on the plains. They were fast and strong. When humans first tried to catch them, many people were killed. A wild horse can kick hard enough to break bones. Yet, you ride them, Ambassador Kethara observed. Watch this, Sarah said. She put a saddle on Thunder's back. The huge horse stood perfectly still while she tightened the straps. Then she climbed onto his back. The aliens gasped. Sarah looked tiny, sitting on the massive animal. Thunder weighs almost 10 times as much as I do, Sarah said. He could throw me off or step on me any time he wants. But he doesn't want to. She guided Thunder around the pen with gentle pressure from her legs and light touches on the reins. The horse responded to her slightest movement. He's not obeying me because he's afraid, Sarah said. He's working with me because we're partners. She dismounted, and Thunder immediately nuzzled her hand, looking for treats. Wild horses live in herds with complex social structures, Sarah explained. They have leaders and followers. When we domesticated them, we didn't break that instinct. We just convinced them that humans could be part of their herd. Brian led them to another section where pigs were kept. The pigs were pink and plump, rolling in mud and making snorting sounds. Pigs are very intelligent, Brian said. Some scientists think they're smarter than dogs. They look peaceful, Veltar observed. These are, Brian agreed. But wild boars are some of the most dangerous animals on Earth. They have sharp tusks, and they're not afraid of anything. They'll charge a human without hesitation. He showed them pictures of wild boars. They looked like pigs, but with longer legs, bigger heads, and sharp curved tusks. Wild boars can weigh over 600 pounds, Brian said. They're fast, smart, and aggressive. Even today, they're responsible for several human deaths every year. But these are completely different, Ambassador Cathara said, watching the domestic pigs play in their pen. Selective breeding, Brian explained. We chose the calmest, friendliest wild boars to breed. Over thousands of years, we created pigs that are gentle and productive. They visited pens with sheep, goats, and chickens. Each animal had a story of how humans had transformed wild, dangerous creatures into domestic partners. Sheep descended from wild mountain sheep that could fight off wolves, Sarah said. Goats came from wild goats that lived on cliffs and could survive anywhere. Chickens descended from jungle fowl that were territorial and aggressive. But why? Veltar asked. Why did humans do this instead of just hunting wild animals? Because it's more efficient, Brian explained. If you hunt a wild animal, you get meat once. If you domesticate it, you get milk, eggs, wool, and eventually meat. Plus, you get babies that will grow up to give you more resources. It's not just about resources, Amy added. It's about relationships. Humans form emotional bonds with their animals. She pointed to a pen where a farmer was hand-feeding a calf with a bottle. The calf was sucking on the bottle like a human. Baby, that calf was born too early, Amy explained. Its mother couldn't feed it, so we're raising it by hand. It will grow up thinking humans are its family. You save the lives of animals that would die in nature? Ambassador Cathara asked. Of course, Sarah said. We take care of them when they're sick, protect them from predators, make sure they have enough food even in bad weather. And in return, they trust us, Brian said simply. They work with us, live with us, and help us survive. The aliens were quiet for a long time. They watched the cows eating hay, the horses playing in their pen, and the pigs rolling in the mud. Your species, Veltar said slowly, doesn't just survive on your world. You recruit your world to help you survive. That's a good way to put it, Amy said. But surely this is the limit, Ambassador Cathara said. These are the only animals you have domesticated. Pete, who had been quiet, started laughing. Oh, this is just the beginning. Wait until you see what we did with the real predators. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Real predators? Veltar asked. Cats, Pete sighed cheerfully. The most efficient killing machines on Earth. Captain Jake Morrison had been planning this moment for weeks. The aliens had finally agreed to visit Earth's surface, but they were still wearing their full protection suits. They stood on the landing pad of the small shuttle, looking around. Nervously, the place Jake had chosen was perfect for what he wanted to show them. It was a ranch in Montana owned by his cousin, retired Marine Colonel Danny Morrison. The ranch sat in a wide valley surrounded by mountains. Green grass stretched for miles in every direction. Welcome to Earth, Danny said as he walked toward the shuttle. The alien sensors immediately started beeping. Danny was not alone. A massive dog walked beside him. This dog was even bigger than Buddy, with thick white fur and intelligent brown eyes. A small cat sat on Danny's shoulder like it owned the place. Alert! Alert! Veltar's suit computer announced. Multiple predator signatures detected. Those are my animals, Danny said calmly. This is Rex, my Great Pyrenees. And this little guy is Patches. Rex was enormous. He stood almost 3 feet tall at the shoulder and probably weighed over 100 pounds. His thick fur made him look even bigger, but his tail was wagging slowly, and his expression was calm and friendly. Patches was an orange tabby cat with white paws. He looked tiny compared to Rex, but he sat on Danny's shoulder with complete confidence. His green eyes studied the aliens with curiosity. Feline detected, Ambassador Kethara's suit announced. Warning, feline species are optimal killing machines. Exercise extreme caution. Danny laughed. Patches? He's about as dangerous as a feather duster. As if to prove Danny's point, the cat began purring. The sound was like a small motor running. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the expedition's animal behavior expert, had been waiting for this moment. She was a small Japanese woman who had spent her career studying the relationships between humans and animals. Let me tell you about cats, Yuki said, activating her tablet. They are indeed perfect predators, but they're also perfect companions. The holographic display showed a wild cat stalking through tall grass. It moved with incredible grace, every muscle coordinated for the hunt. Wild cats are solitary hunters, Yuki explained. They have excellent night vision, perfect balance, and reflexes faster than almost any other animal. They can leap 6 times their own height. Their claws are like knives. The display showed slow-motion footage of a cat catching a mouse. The cat's movements were so fast, they were almost invisible. They're also incredibly intelligent, Yuki continued. They can solve complex problems and remember solutions for years. They're capable of learning their names, responding to commands, and even opening doors. Yet you keep them as pets? Veltar asked, staring at Patches. We don't keep them, Danny said, scratching under Patches' chin. They choose to live with us. Choose? Cats were never fully domesticated the way dogs were, Yuki explained. Dogs were bred to depend on humans. Cats domesticated themselves. She showed them images of ancient Egypt, where cats lived in temples and palaces. Thousands of years ago, humans began storing grain in large buildings, Yuki said. The grain attracted mice and rats. The mice and rats attracted cats. The cats discovered that living near humans meant easy hunting and safe places to sleep. So they are using you, Ambassador Kethara said. It's mutual, Danny replied. They get food and shelter. We get pest control and companionship. Patches jumped down from Danny's shoulder and walked over to the aliens. They froze as the cat approached. He's coming toward us, Veltar whispered. He's curious about you, Yuki said. Cats are naturally curious about new things. Patches sat down just out of reach and began cleaning his paw with his tongue. He glanced at the aliens occasionally, but seemed more interested in his grooming. He's ignoring us now, Ambassador Kethara observed. That's very cat-like, Danny said with a smile. Cats are independent. They show affection on their own terms. Rex, meanwhile, had approached the aliens more directly. The massive dog sat down in front of them, his tail wagging slowly. He was clearly friendly, but his size was intimidating. This animal is enormous, Veltar said. What is its function? Rex is a livestock guardian dog, Danny explained. His job is to protect the animals on this ranch. Protect them from what? As if summoned by the question, a howl echoed across the valley. Then another and another. Soon, a whole pack of wild animals was howling from the hills. The alien suits immediately began beeping with danger warnings. Canis lupus detected, the computer announced. Multiple signatures. Recommend immediate evacuation. Those are coyotes, Danny said calmly. Wild relatives of domestic dogs. They're smaller than wolves, but they hunt in packs. Through binoculars, the aliens could see the wild canines on a distant ridge. There were at least a dozen of them, and they were looking toward the ranch. They're stalking us, Ambassador Kethara said. They're looking for easy prey, Danny corrected. Young cattle, sheep, anything they can catch. Rex had stood up when the howling started. His ears were forward, and he was alert but not afraid. 2 other dogs appeared from different parts of the ranch, responding to the wild calls. "Watch this," Danny said. He made a hand signal to Rex. The big dog immediately began moving toward the cattle herd in the distance. The other 2 dogs spread out in different directions. "Rex isn't going to fight the coyotes," Danny explained. "He's going to do his job." The aliens watched through their binoculars as Rex reached the cattle. The cows were nervous, clustering together and looking toward the hills where the coyotes waited. But when Rex appeared, they began to calm down. "The cattle trust him," Yuki observed. "Rex has been protecting this herd for 5 years," Danny said. "They know he'll keep them safe." The coyotes began moving down from the ridge. They were clearly planning to test the defenses. But as they got closer, they saw Rex and the other dogs, positioning themselves between the predators and the prey. Rex didn't bark or show aggression. He simply stood his ground, making it clear that the cattle were under his protection. The other dogs did the same, creating a defensive line. The coyotes stopped. They were outnumbered and outweighed. After a few minutes of standoff, they turned and disappeared back into the hills. The wild predators retreated, Ambassador Cathara said in amazement. "They're not stupid," Danny replied. "Fighting is dangerous, even for predators. They'd rather find easier prey than risk injury." "But your domestic predators defeated wild ones without violence," Veltar observed. "That's the point," Yuki said. "Rex isn't just a former predator. He's a predator that's chosen to protect instead of hunt." As the afternoon wore on, the aliens got to see more of ranch life. They watched Danny ride a horse while herding cattle. They saw cats hunting mice in the barn while completely ignoring the chickens. They were supposed to protect according to predator behavior. They watched children playing with dogs that could easily overpower them. They saw a cat bring a dead mouse to Danny as a gift, demonstrating both its hunting skills and its affection. "Your children are not afraid of these animals," Ambassador Cathara noted. "Why would they be?" Danny asked. "These animals are part of their family." As evening approached, they sat on Danny's porch. Rex lay at their feet, completely relaxed. Patches had somehow gotten onto Veltar's lap, despite the environmental suit, and was purring contentedly. "I don't understand," Veltar sighed, looking down at the cat. "My suit readings show that this creature is a perfect predator. Yet it single quotes S.Tarring, Yuki finished. "Cats purr when they're happy and relaxed. It's a sign of contentment. But how do you know it won't attack?" "Because it has no reason to," Danny explained. "Patches has everything he needs. Food, shelter, safety, companionship. Why would he risk that by attacking the people who provide it? Plus," Yuki added, "cats are smart enough to know that humans are not prey. We're too big, and we don't behave like prey animals." "What do you mean?" "Prey animals run when they see predators," Yuki explained. "They show fear. Humans don't run from cats. We approach them, pick them up, pet them. This confuses their predator instincts." Ambassador Cathara had been quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Your species has done something unprecedented," he said. "You've convinced your planet's predators to work with you instead of against you." "Not just predators," Danny said. "Everything. The horses, the cattle, even the plants we grow. We've made partners out of our entire world." The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and red. In the distance, the cattle were settling down for the night. Rex got up and made a patrol around the yard, checking that everything was secure. "On most worlds," Ambassador Cathara said slowly, "intelligent species either destroy their predators or are destroyed by them. Your species found a third option. We found cooperation, Yuki agreed. A pack of wild wolves began howling from the far mountains. The sound was beautiful and haunting. Rex lifted his head and listened, but he didn't respond. He had chosen his pack long ago. Those are wolves, Danny said. Rex's wild cousins. They live in the mountains and hunt deer and elk. Are they dangerous? Veltar asked, though he seemed more curious than afraid now. They could be, if you cornered one or threatened their. Pups, Danny said, but they avoid humans. They're actually more afraid of us than we are of them. Afraid of humans? Humans are the most successful predators on Earth, Yuki explained. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we're. The next morning, the aliens returned to Danny's ranch. This time, they seemed less afraid. Veltar had even asked if he could remove his helmet for a few minutes to experience Earth's atmosphere directly. Captain Jake Morrison and Dr. Amy Chun had come down from the space station to witness this historic moment. They wanted to see how the first contact would end. Danny's granddaughter Emma was waiting on the porch. She was 5 years old, with blonde hair and pigtails and bright blue eyes. She wore jeans, boots, and a pink t-shirt with a horse on it. Rex lay beside her chair like a giant furry carpet. Grandpa Danny, Emma called. Are those the space people? Yes, sweetheart, Danny said. Emma, I'd like you to meet Ambassador Kethara and Science Officer Veltar. They've come from very far away to learn about Earth. Emma stood up and walked toward the aliens. Rex immediately got up and followed her, staying close but not interfering. Hello, Emma said politely. Do you want to meet my animals? The aliens looked at each other. Here was a human child, barely half their height, asking if they wanted to meet predators. Your animals? Ambassador Kethara asked. Well, they're really Grandpa's animals, Emma said, but they're my friends. She reached up and patted Rex's head. The huge dog's tail wagged slowly. This is Rex. He's my bodyguard. Mommy says he watches me to make sure I don't get hurt. Bodyguard, Veltar repeated. The predator protects the child. Rex isn't a predator, Emma said, looking confused. He's a dog. Dr. Yuki Tanaka knelt down to Emma's level. Emma, can you show our visitors how Rex takes care of you? Okay, Emma said brightly. She ran toward the barn. Rex immediately followed, staying about 3 feet behind her. When Emma stumbled over a rock, Rex was there instantly, letting her grab his fur to steady herself. He's watching her every move, Ambassador Kethara observed. Not just watching, Amy said. He's anticipating. He knows she might fall before. She does. Emma disappeared into the barn. Rex sat by the door, facing outward, clearly standing guard. The dog is protecting the entrance, Veltar said. He's making sure nothing can hurt Emma while she's inside, Danny explained. A few minutes later, Emma emerged from the barn carrying a small orange kitten. This is Muffin, Emma announced. She's Patch's daughter. The kitten was tiny, probably. Only a few weeks old. It fit easily in Emma's small hands. But even at that age, it had all the features of a predator. Sharp claws, pointed teeth, quick reflexes. The child is holding a predator, Ambassador Kethara said. Muffin is a baby, Emma said. She can't hurt anything yet. Watch. Emma sat down. On the ground. The kitten immediately began purring and trying to climb up her shirt. Emma giggled as tiny claws tickled her. Even as infants, they bond with humans, Amy observed. It's imprinting, Yuki explained. Kittens raised by humans think humans are part of their family. Rex had settled down nearby, keeping watch over both Emma and the kitten. His eyes constantly scanned the area for any potential threats. Can I show them Thunder? Emma asked Danny. If the visitors would like to see him, Danny said. They walked to the horse pasture. Thunder, the massive Clydesdale, was grazing near the fence. When he saw Emma, he lifted his head and walked over. "Thunder is really big," Emma said to the aliens, "but he's gentle." She climbed up on the fence rail. Thunder lowered his head so Emma could pet his nose. "This creature weighs over a ton," Veltar said. "It could kill the child accidentally." "Thunder has been around children his whole life," Danny said. "He knows to be careful." Emma produced the apple from her pocket. Thunder took it from her hand with amazing delicacy, his huge lips barely touching her small fingers. "He's being incredibly precise," Amy observed. "Look how carefully he's controlling his movements." "Horses are intelligent," Yuki explained. "They can judge their own strength and adjust their behavior accordingly." "Emma," Danny called, "show them how Thunder gives rides." Emma climbed onto the fence and then onto Thunder's back. The huge horse stood perfectly still while she settled herself. "No saddle?" Ambassador Kethara asked. "Thunder is very well trained." Danny said, "Emma, just walk him around the paddock." Emma made a soft clicking sound. Thunder began walking slowly around the enclosed area. His gait was smooth and careful, making sure his young rider stayed balanced. "The predator is serving as transportation for the child," Veltar observed. "Thunder isn't a predator," Emma called from Thunder's back. "He eats grass." "But his ancestors were wild and dangerous," Ambassador Kethara said. "I don't know about that," Emma said. "Thunder is just Thunder." After the demonstration, they sat on Danny's porch again. Emma curled up in a chair with Muffin in her lap and Rex at her feet. "Emma," Amy said, "are you ever afraid of the animals?" "Why would I be afraid?" Emma asked. "They're my family, but they're so much bigger than you." Emma thought about this seriously. "Grandpa Danny is bigger than me too, but I'm not afraid of him. Big doesn't mean scary." "What if one of them got angry?" Veltar asked. "They don't get angry at me," Emma said. "I take care of them, and they take care of me." "How do you take care of them?" "I help feed them. I brush Thunder's hair. I play with the cats so they don't get bored. And I give them lots of hugs." As if to demonstrate, Emma hugged Rex around the neck. The big dog's tail wagged, and he made a soft huffing sound that might have been contentment. "The child shows no fear whatsoever," Ambassador Kethara said quietly to the adults. "She's never had reason to be afraid," Danny replied. "These animals have been part of her life since she was born." "On our world," Veltar said, "children are kept far from any creature that could harm them." "That must be very lonely," Emma said. She had been listening to the conversation. "Lonely?" "Having no animal friends," Emma explained. "Who do you talk to when you're sad? Who plays with you? Who keeps you warm when you're cold?" The aliens looked at each other. These were not questions they had ever considered. "We talk to other members of our species," Ambassador Kethara said. "But what if they're all busy?" Emma asked. "Then we wait." "Rex is never too busy," Emma said, hugging the dog again. "And Thunder always has time to give rides. And cats are always ready to play." Dr. Chun activated her tablet and showed the aliens some statistics. "Children who grow up with animals have lower stress levels," she said. "They're more empathetic, more responsible, and better at reading nonverbal communication. The animals teach them," Yuki added. "Animals don't use words, so children learn to understand body language and emotions." "Is this why your species is so good at cooperation?" Veltar asked. "It might be part of it," Amy agreed. "When you grow up communicating with different species, it's easier to understand beings who think differently than you do." As the day wore on, the aliens got to see more of Emma's daily routine. She helped Danny feed the cattle, with Rex supervising to make sure she stayed safe. She collected eggs from the chickens, with several cats following her around like a small Parade Dot, when Emma took a nap in the afternoon, she used Rex as a pillow. The huge dog lay perfectly still for over an hour, letting the child sleep against his side. The predator is sacrificing its comfort for the child's, Ambassador Cathara observed. That's what family does, Danny said simply. As evening approached, Emma's parents arrived to pick her up. Her mother, Sarah, was Danny's daughter. How did your visit go, sweetheart? Sarah asked Emma. The space people are nice, Emma said, but they don't have any animals. That's very sad, Sarah agreed. Before Emma left, she walked over to Veltar, who had removed his helmet and was experiencing Earth's air directly. Would you like to pet Muffin? Emma asked, holding up the kitten. Veltar looked nervous. I don't know how. It's easy, Emma said. Just be gentle. She guided Veltar's hand to stroke the kitten's fur. Muffin immediately began purring. It's vibrating, Veltar said in wonder. She's purring, Emma explained. It means she likes you. This small predator ... likes me? Of course, Emma said. You're being nice to her. When Emma and her family left, the alien stood watching the truck disappear down the road. Remarkable, Ambassador Cathara said. A human child, completely safe. Among creatures that could kill her. More than safe, Captain Morrison said. Protected, loved. Those animals would die before they let anything hurt her. But why? Veltar asked. What do they gain from protecting a human child? Family, Danny said. Purpose, love, the same things humans get from the relationship. That evening, they sat around Danny's fireplace one last time. Rex sprawled across the floor, Patches curled up in Veltar's lap and outside. The sounds of the ranch settling down for the night filled the air. Ambassador, Captain Morrison said, what will you tell the Galactic Council about Earth? Cathara was quiet for a long time. We came here expecting to find a world of violence and death. Instead, we found a world of cooperation and love. Your species, Veltar added, has accomplished something we thought impossible. You've made predators into family members. Not just predators, Amy said. Everything. Plants, animals, even the land itself. Humans don't see nature as something to conquer. We see it as something to join. This is why you're successful in space, Ambassador Cathara realized. You don't try to recreate your homeworld on other planets. You adapt to what you find and make it work with you. That's the human way, Danny agreed. Outside, a wolf howled in the distance. Rex lifted his head and listened, but he didn't howl back. He had see